I'm Harley. Today in Harley's First View, we're going to take a look at Dear Esther.
Dear Esther, the morning after I was washed ashore, salt in my ears, sand in my mouth, and the waves always at my ankles, I felt as though everything had conspired to this one last shipwreck. I remembered nothing but water, stones in my belly and my shoes, threatening to drag me under to where only the most listless of creatures swim.
Well, that was an interesting approach to drowning, I suppose. So, I should preface this by saying, this is not so much a game as a method for storytelling. I'm really not doing much of anything. I'm walking around. I didn't turn that flashlight on. It just happened when I went into dark space. There's a choice of two roads. We can take the high road. But there's not any use of A, B, X, or Y. It's just directional walking. I must say, the scenery is rather lovely, and every so often you'll see that I just kind of take it all in. Apparently, I was not supposed to take the high road, so going down here. Let's take the low road. Like that, skyline is just rather gorgeous, even for a game. But we've been walking for a while now, and yeah, nothing really happens. It's eventually the storyteller will start talking again, but there's no kind of really rhyme or reason to it that I have been able to discern. It just sort of happens.
Those islands in the distance, I am sure, are nothing more than relics of another time, sleeping giants, somnambulist gods laid down for a final dreaming. I wash the sand from my lips and grip my wrist ever more tightly. My shaking arms will not support my fading diaries.
That's interesting then. Out a bit, doesn't it? I like walking in this direction more than the other. I guess because I feel like I'm walking toward the light.
Since 1974. I decided it would never be missed as I slipped it under my coat and avoided the librarian's gaze on the way out. If the subject matter is obscure, the writer's literary style is even more so. It is not the text of a stable or trustworthy reporter. Perhaps it is fitting that my only companion in these last days should be a stolen book written by a dying man.
So he went to the library and stole a book that nobody else has bothered to read in many years. Okay. And then took it to an island?
Or was dying, and was so ill they gave up what little hope they could sacrifice. They cut parallel lines into the cliff, exposing the white chalk beneath.
There's the cliff with lines.
See them from the mainland or the fishing boats, and know to send aid or impose a cordon of protection, and wait a generation until whatever pestilence stalked the cliff paths died along with its hosts. My lines are just for this, to keep any would-be rescuers at bay. The infection is not simply of the flesh.
Ew.
They were God-fearing people, those shepherds. There was no love in the relationship. Donnelly tells me that they had one Bible that was passed around in strict rotation. It was stolen by a visiting monk in 1776, 2 years before the island was abandoned altogether. In the interim, I wonder, Did they assign chapter and verse to the stones and grasses, marking the geography with a superimposed significance that they could actually walk the Bible and inhabit its contradictions?
I think this game would be a lot more interesting if you could collect Pokemon while you're walking. Just saying. Bring up like a little virtual person.
Dear Esther,
in the corner.
I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another. Although he knew I hadn't come in search of an apology, reason or retribution, he still spiraled in panic, thrown high and lucid by his own dented bonnet. Responsibility had made him old. Like us, he'd already passed beyond any conceivable boundary of life. I find myself increasingly unable to find that point where the hermit ends and Paul and I begin. We are woven into a sodden blanket, stuffed into the bottom of a boat to stop the leak and hold back the ocean. My neck aches from staring up at the aerial. It mirrors the dull throb in my gut where I am sure I've begun to form another stone. In my dreams, it forms into a perfect representation of Lot's wife, head over her shoulder, staring along the motorway at the approaching traffic in a vacuum of fatalistic calm.
That was an interesting cave. I guess I understand why this guy has such a bleak bleak outlook, because his existence is about to end, but I don't know, I feel like he's trying to make some point that is just getting lost on me. His story is, I don't know if it's interesting or dull. It's just somewhere in between. A lot of detail put into those flowers.
The vegetation here has fossilized from the roots up. To think
Right.
they once grazed animals here, the remnants of occupation being evidence to that. It is all sick to death. The water is too polluted for the fish, the sky is too thin for the birds, and the soil is cut with the bones of hermits and shepherds. I've heard it said that human ashes make great fertilizer, that we could sow a forest from all that is left of your hips and ribcage, with enough left over to thicken the air and repopulate the bay.
That's a little apocalyptic there. Is it mini Stonehenge? Okay, so yeah, just walking. While we have a moment, feel free to check out my YouTube, follow me on Twitch, go check out my Twitter. Hi, I'm Harley. That was chapter 1 of Dear Esther for Harley's First View. I think there's 4 chapters. I don't exactly remember, but I did play through the end, and if you make it all the way there, it is kind of worth it. It's about $20, I think. Go pick it up, get some achievements. All right, that's it. I'm out.